Ange Postecoglou sacked by Tottenham just 16 days after leading the club to the Europa League, their first trophy in 17 years. Hi, good evening, welcome along. We thought we were going to be talking transfers, not now. 2 years to the day since Tottenham appointed Ange Postecoglou, they've sacked him. Let's go live to our reporter Michael Bridge, who's at Tottenham's training ground. Michael, very good evening. Right, he said he's a winner, he's won a trophy, and now he's gone. Is this a surprise?
I don't think so, Mike. I mean, there was murmurings before the season finished that regardless of what Spurs did in the Europa League, that Spurs were going to make a change anyway. But then in Bilbao, fans crying, families hugging each other. Spurs won a trophy, the first European trophy in 41 years, first trophy of any kind in 17 years. Many fans who didn't like what they saw last season were like, do you know what? Let's give him that third season. That third season he mentioned 2 weeks ago, this Friday, at that parade when there was over 225,000 people. But then he said the day after the pre-Brighton press conference, he shouldn't have said season 3 because sometimes the main character can get killed off on box sets. And now it looks like it's very clear now that Ange Postecoglou won't see a season 3 here, and Spurs are having another change. So Ange Postecoglou, it looks like, will be departing, and Spurs are looking for another manager.
Has he been hard done by, Michael, because he did what he said he was going to do? He won a trophy.
There's a few ways to look at this, Mike. He did the biggest mic drop, I think, in football history. I always win things in my second season. He had that question every single week he was at this press conference. And you know what? He delivered. And off the back of that, I'm convinced. In fact, I know he's going to get a very good job after this. There's already been clubs who have been very interested in Ange Postecoglou. Hard done by, many will say yes, because this club have been craving a trophy. People say Spurs don't win trophies. That's nonsense. Spurs have won plenty of trophies. The problem is, I have to go and ask my dad about that. FA Cups, league titles, many other trophies, Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cups, you name it. They were done in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. They've not won enough. They've won the Carling Cup, it was called the Carling Cup back then in 2008. 17 years Spurs have waited. And of course, everyone, you talk about the Big Six, Spurs are in that Big Six. People always say they've not won enough trophies. And now they've won the Europa League. That's a massive trophy, not in terms of how big it is. It's a beautiful trophy, but it's a massive competition. And of course, that gets you Champions League football, which this club have craved year after year and out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, Mike, Spurs did finish 17th, fourth from bottom, 22 league defeats. And there are many supporters who still say, look, Ange, go with your head held high. We wonder if the football works on a Thursday to Sunday basis. And of course, next season, it's going to be 10 times harder in the Champions League. You can't rest players like they did in the early stages of the Europa League. It's going to be very hard. And clearly the board here think they might need someone with a bit more Premier League experience.
Yeah, what about the board? How tough a decision was it, given that the league form was so bad, but you've won a European trophy?
Very difficult, because at the end of the day, Spurs season tickets, they're high prices, but when you openly say, I'm going to prioritise one competition, but maybe not going to look upon the other competitions so much, probably doesn't go down too well. Every game's important, but it was a tough watch this season for Spurs in the league. But I must say, there were so many injuries. You had Archie Gray, a signing from Leeds United, a midfielder. He played centre-half for a big chunk of it. But when he did get Mickey van der Ven back, when he did get Christian Romero back, Spurs looked a much more solid unit. The only issue there is, Mike, they played in the Europa League those last few games. So they went to Frankfurt. Ange didn't play the Ange ball. He actually played with real defence. They won 1-0. Bodo Glimt away. They played with that back four. They won 2-0. Man United, wasn't a great-looking game. Who cares? They won. They won 1-0. But in terms of the league, it just wasn't a great year at all.
I'm interested in the fans, Michael. How do you think they'll react to this?
Torn. Because many of them now will be saying, Ange, thank you. Thank you for giving me the best day of my footballing life. I hugged my mum, I hugged my dad, I hugged my brother, I hugged my sister, I hugged my grand. That moment in Bilbao, you'll never forget it. There was 45,000 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This is a big football club we're talking about here. 225,000 at the parade. I think they'll be mixed. There are still going to be some fans who are not convinced the football and the style of play he plays is sustainable for Premier League, Champions League, Carabao Cup, you name it. Those fans might just say, do you know what, Ange? Best of luck in wherever you go next. And as I said before, he'll get a brilliant job off the back of this. But again, it's another rebuild for Spurs, and we've got transfer shows already. The pre-season gets shorter and shorter.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to be talking transfers, and what has been really evident throughout this little run is that we haven't been speaking about Tottenham Hotspur. Do you feel that is because they were thinking, we've got to get rid of this manager and bring in someone else?
Probably not. I mean, this is a transfer window like no other. And what are we focusing on Sky Sports News? Manchester City a lot, Chelsea a lot, because they are in the Club World Cup. Plans are already underway, but we do know there's a couple of players who are already left. Fraser Forster, Sergio Reguilon. Heung-min Son might even leave if the right offer comes along. So there's going to be a huge change here. I don't think there's any room for panic in terms of transfers at the moment. But what we do know for certain, another rebuild is on the way here with another head coach. It's never quiet here at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, and that rebuild and other head coach could well be Thomas Frank. He's being linked heavily with this job. Will that go down well with Spurs fans?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, look, you know, we love watching him on Sky Sports News, don't we? He's a very, very engaging guy. He's done brilliant with Brentford. You know, week after week, the likes of myself and other reporters used to ask him about Ivan Toney's future. He was always very calm. He gives you good answers. You like listening to him. He was brilliant on Monday Night Football. The only doubt or worry you'd say is he doesn't have massive European experience. His first few jobs will be potentially winning a trophy in the Super Cup final against PSG. Good luck with that. And then the Champions League, if it is Thomas Frank. But talking about other coaches, that's a normal thing with big football clubs, Mike, when you potentially want to make changes. And I'm sure the discussions are well underway on that.
Michael Bridge, for the moment, thank you very much, Michael. Much more from you throughout the evening, of course. So, 2 years to the day since he was appointed, Ange Postecoglou is now gone. He said, when I reflect on my time as manager of Tottenham Hotspur, my overriding emotion is one of pride. The opportunity to lead one of England's historic football clubs and bring back the glory it deserves will live with me for a lifetime. Sharing that experience with all those who truly love this club and seeing the impact it had on them is something I will never forget. That night in Bilbao was the culmination of 2 years of hard work, dedication and unwavering belief in a dream. There were many challenges to overcome and plenty of noise that comes with trying to accomplish what many said was not possible. We've also laid the foundations that mean this club should not have to wait 17 more years for their next success. I have enormous faith in this group of players, and I know there is much more potential and growth in them. I sincerely want to thank those who are the lifeblood of the club, the supporters. I know there were some difficult times, but I always felt that they wanted me to succeed, and that gave me all the motivation I needed to push on. It's important to acknowledge the hard work people at Spurs who gave me encouragement on a daily basis. And finally, I want to thank those who were with me every day for the last 2 years, a fantastic group of young men who are now legends of this football club, and the brilliant coaches who never once doubted we could do something special. We are forever connected. That is Ange Postecoglou giving his reaction.
Stunning scenes at Tottenham. Ange Postecoglou, gone. Just 16 days after ending Spurs' 17-year wait for a trophy. Welcome to Sport Lab. Let's break this down. Ange Postecoglou sacked. The Australian coach has been sacked by Tottenham. This comes just over 2 weeks after lifting the Europa League, beating Man United 1-0 in Bilbao. That win brought Spurs their first European trophy in 41 years, and secured Champions League qualification. Sport Lab Insight. This isn't about the trophy, it's about the league. Spurs finished 17th in the Premier League, 22 defeats, 38 points, lowest tally in club history. Boardroom logic. European success was masking domestic failure. Thomas Frank, leading candidate. Brentford boss Thomas Frank is now the leading contender to take over. He has a release clause in his contract, and Spurs are ready to make a move. No talks yet, but there's confidence a deal can be done. Sport Lab Insight. Thomas Frank has Premier League credibility, tactical flexibility, and has overachieved with Brentford. If Spurs want structure and squad harmony, he ticks those boxes. Timeline and fallout. Postecoglou joined Spurs on June 6, 2023. Exactly 2 years to the day, he's out. Halfway through a 4-year deal. Mixed legacy, European triumph versus domestic collapse. Fan reaction is split. Some say it's harsh, he delivered silverware. Others say the league form was untenable, and next season can't be built on a broken foundation. Ange Postecoglou, out at Spurs. Thomas Frank, waiting in the wings. Trophy in the cabinet, but pressure in North London never stops. This is Sport Lab. We go beyond the headline. Hit follow. Stay sharp.